Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Brasilia after attending the 17th BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro to hold bilateral talks with President Lula on key areas of cooperation. Donald Trump hosts Netanyahu at White House as pressure mounts on Israeli PM to clinch Gaza ceasefire deal. Trump says Hamas wants to end the conflict amid latest round of talks in Doha. US President unveils first wave of steeper tariffs on over a dozen countries. Japan, South Korea hit with 25% tariffs. Negotiating deadline extended till 1st August. Rescuers race against time to find missing people as catastrophic flooding in Texas claims over 100 lives, 21 still missing. News in detail now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is now in Brasilia after attending the BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro. Upon arrival, PM Modi was warmly received by José Muzio, Minister of Defence of Brazil, at the airport. The welcome was made delightfully musical by the traditional Brazilian samba reggae performance. In Brasilia, PM Modi will hold bilateral discussions with Brazilian President Lula da Silva on the broadening of strategic partnership between two nations in areas of mutual interest, including trade, defense, energy, space, technology, agriculture, health, and people-to-people linkages. At the hotel, Prime Minister Modi was given a grand traditional welcome. Acharya Jonas Sethi and his associates recited the Shiv Tandav Stotram while the indigenous people of Brazil's Amazon rainforest chanted local mantras. Taking to social media platform X, PM Modi said, and I quote him here, "The Indian community accorded a memorable welcome, once again highlighting how passionate our diaspora is and how connected they remain with their roots." Unquote. Earlier, India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman participated in the BRICS Finance Ministers and Central Bank Governors meeting held in Rio de Janeiro on Monday. During the high-level discussions, she underscored India's economic resilience and its commitment to inclusive multilateralism. The Finance Minister also highlighted India's robust economic performance, attributing it to strong domestic demand, sound macroeconomic management and well-calibrated fiscal policies. Minister Sitharaman further said that India's policy response to trade and financial restrictions has focused on diversifying markets, promoting infrastructure-led growth and implementing structural reforms aimed at boosting competitiveness and productivity. Moving on, India abstained from voting on the United Nations General Assembly resolution on the situation in Afghanistan on Monday, citing ongoing concerns about the use of country's territory by designated terrorist groups. The text title, "The Situation in Afghanistan," was adopted by a vote of 116 in favor to Israel and the United States against, while 12 abstentions, including India. India's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Parvatneni Harish, noted that the business-as-usual approach without new and targeted initiatives is unlikely to deliver the outcomes the international community envisions for the Afghan people. He added that India is closely monitoring the security situation in Afghanistan.
India is closely monitoring the security situation in Afghanistan. The international community must direct its coordinated efforts towards ensuring that entities and individuals designated by the UN Security Council, the Al-Qaeda and their affiliates, ISIL and their affiliates, including Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, along with their regional sponsors who facilitate their operations, no longer exploit Afghan territory for terrorist activities.
Ambassador P. Harish also spoke about the humanitarian assistance provided by India to Afghanistan.
India's immediate priorities in Afghanistan include the provision of humanitarian assistance and the implementation of capacity-building initiatives for the Afghan people. We have been working closely with UN agencies to support the Afghan people in critical areas such as health, food security, education, and sports. India's commitment to Afghanistan's reconstruction is demonstrated through more than 500 development partnerships across all provinces.
Major General Staff Humaid Mohammad Abdullah, Commander of the United Arab Emirates Naval Forces, is on an official visit to India from July 7th to 9th. Major General laid a wreath in honor of India's fallen soldiers at the National War Memorial in New Delhi, followed by a ceremonial guard of honor. The visit aims to deepen maritime cooperation and strengthen bilateral defense ties between the two nations. Major General held discussions with Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi focused on strengthening naval collaboration and enhancing maritime ties. He will meet India's Chief of Defence Staff. He is also scheduled to meet with India's Chief of Defence Staff, like we said, underscoring the deepening strategic defence partnership between the two nations.
Thank you.
Well, global weather updates now. First, starting from India, after enduring a prolonged spell of heat and humidity, people across the Indian Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir finally received a welcome change in the weather as heavy rainfall lashed several parts of the region on Monday. The downpour brought temperatures down sharply, offering immediate respite to residents who had been struggling with soaring heat over recent weeks. From the urban stretches of Srinagar and Jammu to the remote hill areas, the rain refreshed the parched landscape and restored a sense of calm to the valley. The sudden weather shift has been widely appreciated, especially by those working outdoors and commuters who had been bearing the brunt of the harsh summer. Now, the northwestern state of Rajasthan just had its wettest start to the monsoon in years. The Met Centre in state capital Jaipur has issued a warning of heavy rain starting in the state from Tuesday. Orange alert has been issued in 6 districts and yellow alert in 24 districts. On Monday also, it rained in Kota, Jaipur, Bikaner divisions. So far, 128% more rain than normal has been recorded in the state. And the Chennai Met Department in southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu has predicted a mix of rain and scorching heat across the state over the next few days. The capital city Chennai, known as the gateway to the South India, usually experiences hot and humid weather conditions during the summer and early monsoon months. The city's weather is expected to remain warm and humid with occasional chances of light rainfall due to ongoing southwest monsoon influence. Other parts of the state will experience light rainfall, which is likely to be accompanied by thunderstorms. Rainfall is likely to occur in districts including Karaikal, Nilgiris, Coimbatore, Tirunelveli, Theni and Tenkasi until the weekend. The rainfall is likely to continue till July 12th. And at the Nepal-China border, 9 people stranded in various places of Rasuwa after the flooded Lende stream have been rescued safely, while 17 people are still missing, including 11 Nepalese and 6 Chinese nationals. The flooded Lende stream has swept away the Miteripul, a bridge connecting Nepal and China in Rasuwa district. Damage has also been reported to the Rasuwa Ghadi hydropower dam. Deadly floods and landslides are common across South Asia during the monsoon season from June to September, but experts say climate change is making them worse. Now, Texas flash floods of 4th July left more than 100 dead, including many children. Search teams plodded through muddy riverbanks and flew aircraft over a flood-ravaged central Texas landscape as hopes dimmed for finding more survivors among dozens still missing from the disaster. Our report. There's no such thing as a natural disaster. Geographers like to say, a reminder that human choices turn hazards into tragedies. Texas Hill Country sits in an area known as Flash Flood Alley. Warm Gulf air rushes up a line of steep hills and cliffs that arc southwest down, cools and dumps torrents onto thin soils that quickly give way to bedrock. Runoff then funnels through a dense web of creeks. Water rises very, very quickly within minutes or a few hours. The early hours of July 4 proved that. An urgent NWS warning went out shortly after 1 a.m. But most campers were already asleep and in the area where phones are banned and the coverage is patchy. Darkness made escape routes further hard to judge. At least 27 of the victims were girls and counselors caught at a summer camp when flood waters surged through the area over the 4th of July weekend, leaving little time to escape. The camp, located along a river, was overwhelmed in a matter of minutes. People are still searching for their neighbors and friends.
A week ago at Camp Mystic, I had 5 granddaughters in Camp Mystic, and they finished their first session and they're home now. But some of their friends were there for the second session, and my heart goes out to all those little girls.
Experts stress that NWS forecasters performed admirably under the circumstances. The real failure was not a bad weather prediction, it was a timely dissemination of forecast and warning.
Organizations like that have the safety of many people in their care at stake have to appoint a person at all times of the day or night to be receiving those weather warnings and then being able to take action on that. That's like how those organizations would handle physical security. Somebody always has to be making sure that people are safe and secure. Same thing as it relates to mitigating weather risk.
Forecasters have warned of more flooding as rain falls on saturated ground, complicating recovery efforts involving helicopters, boats, dogs, and some 1,750 personnel. President Donald Trump is due to visit Texas on Friday as the White House slammed critics claiming his cuts to weather agencies had weakened warning systems. Human-driven climate change has made extreme weather events such as floods, droughts, and heat waves more frequent and more intense in recent years. Bureau Report, DD India. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. US President Donald Trump says US would be sending more weapons to Kiev to help it defend itself against Moscow attacks. US stocks drop on Trump's tariff news while Asian shares edge higher as Trump left the door open for additional negotiations. And we get you glimpses of a home 150 meters high on a cliff reached by 96 hand-carved steps.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. And it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching Indeed India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. US President Donald Trump hosted Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House on Monday. Both the leaders discussed the situation in West Asia. Speaking to reporters at the beginning of a dinner between US and Israeli officials, Netanyahu said the US and Israel were working with other countries who would give Palestinians a better future. It suggested that the residents of Gaza could move to neighboring nations. On the other side, Israeli officials held indirect negotiations with Hamas aimed at securing a US-brokered Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal. The proposal envisages a phased release of hostages, Israeli troop withdrawals from parts of Gaza, and discussions on ending the war entirely. Moving on to tensions with Iran, Trump said he would like to lift sanctions on Iran at some point. Trump said he also wanted to discuss with Netanyahu the prospects for a permanent deal with Iran.
One of the things we have with Iran is, we have they are very biting sanctions, and I would love to be able to, at the right time, take those sanctions off, give them a chance at rebuilding, because I'd like to see Iran build itself back up in a peaceful manner and not going around saying death to America, death to the USA, death to Israel, as they were doing.
Earlier, Netanyahu met U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Trump's Middle East Special Envoy Steve Witkoff at the Blair House. United States has scheduled talks with Tehran. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff said the meeting would take place in the next week or so. Israeli officials also hope the outcome of the conflict with Iran will pave the way for normalization of relations with more of its neighbors such as Lebanon, Syria and Saudi Arabia. In an interview, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said he believes Iran can resolve its differences with the United States through dialogue, but trust would be an issue after US and Israeli attacks on his country. Take a listen.
Once again, I would like to tell you that it is Israel that does not want such things to happen in the region. Israel does not want to see peace and tranquility in the region. But I would like to once again repeat that the United States President, Mr. Trump, he is capable enough to guide the region towards the peace and a brighter future and put Israel in its place, or get into a pit, an endless pit or a swamp. And that is a war that Netanyahu wants the United States or the US president to be dragged into. So it is up to the United States president to choose which path that I told you about.
Expressing unhappiness over Russia-Ukraine conflict and especially with President Putin, President Trump said on Monday the United States would be sending more weapons to Kiev to help it defend itself against Moscow attacks. Trump said the US would be sending primarily defensive weapons, mentioning nothing about Patriot missiles, of which he talked about on Friday.
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. They're getting hit very hard. We're going to have to send more weapons. Yeah, defensive weapons primarily, but they're getting hit very, very hard. It's very sad. So many people are dying in that mess.
After a call with Trump on Friday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he had agreed to work on increasing Kiev's capability to defend the sky. Both leaders also discussed joint defense production, purchases and investments. Ukraine has been asking Washington to sell it more Patriot missiles and systems that it sees as key to defending its cities from intensifying Russian airstrikes. Now, the U.S. Army installed barbed wire along the top of the border wall with Mexico on Monday in an effort to reinforce security measures. Soldiers were seen deploying the wire near Ciudad Juarez across from El Paso, Texas. The move follows a similar action in February when U.S. Marines reinforced steel columns of the border wall with barbed wire in Tijuana near the California border. The Hope Border Institute criticized the barbed wire deployment, warning it endangers migrants and border communities and reflects a harsh immigration enforcement approach. The organization called for humane, lawful immigration processes, emphasizing safer, more affordable alternatives that uphold U.S. legal and humanitarian standards. Now, Tom Homan, the administration's border czar, on Monday said that ICE would flood the zone in sanctuary cities to meet a goal of 7,000 detentions every day. Last month, U.S. immigration officials walked back limits on enforcement targeting farms, restaurants, hotels and food processing plants just days after putting restrictions in place. ICE officials were told the daily quota to make 3,000 arrests per day, 10 times the average last year during former President Joe Biden's administration, would remain in effect. Speaking upon exiting the White House, Homan told reporters immigration efforts plan to double down and triple down on sanctuary cities, where he said officials are releasing public safety threats.
And for those that say 3,000 a day is too much, I want to remind them, do the math. We'd have to arrest 7,000 every single day for the remainder of this administration just to catch the ones Biden released the nation.
U.S. President Donald Trump reignited his trade war by threatening more than a dozen countries with higher tariffs. On Monday, the U.S. President renewed his threat of a 25% tax on products entering the country from Japan and South Korea and shared a batch of other letters to world leaders warning of levies from 1st August. Countries including Indonesia, Bangladesh, Thailand, South Africa and Malaysia were slapped with duties ranging from 25% to 40%. Trump warned of further escalation if there was retaliation against the levies.
An executive order today delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st. So the reciprocal tariff rate, or these new rates that will be provided in this correspondence to these foreign leaders, will be going out the door within the next month, or deals will be made. And those countries continue to negotiate with the United States. We've seen a lot of positive developments in the right direction, but the administration, the president and his trade team want to cut the best deals for the American people.
Now, Trump's tariffs would apply to Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, Kazakhstan and Tunisia, all subject to the lowest rate of 25%. South Africa and Bosnia and Herzegovina are facing a 30% tariff rate. Indonesia would be subject to 32% rate. Serbia and Bangladesh a 35% rate and 36% rate on goods from Cambodia and Thailand. While the steepest tariffs would be levied on Laos and Myanmar, with both facing duties of 40% each. All 14 countries, many of which have highly export-reliant economies, had previously been subject to the baseline tariff of 10%. And the imposition of the 25% levy on U.S. importers of all goods from key Asian allies Japan and South Korea rattled Wall Street, with the S&P 500 index suffering its biggest drop in 3 weeks. The S&P 500 closed down about 0.8%. U.S.-listed shares of Japanese automotive companies fell, with Toyota Motor closing down 4% and Honda Motor off by 3.9%. And Asian shares, meanwhile, edged higher as Trump left the door open for additional negotiations after imposing new tariff rates on partner nations. Japan's Nikkei opened lower on Tuesday, but then turned positive after Trump described that deadline as firm but not 100% firm, and said tariffs may be adjusted for some countries. In South Korea, the benchmark Korea Composite Stock Price Index opened up 1.50%. The won and the yen gained slightly, while the dollar dipped 0.2% after jumping the most in 3 weeks Monday. Sports updates now. We'll start with shooting. Double Olympic medalist Manu Bhaker headlines Indian squad for the 16th Asian Championship in Kazakhstan, which will take place from 16th to 30th August. Manu Bhaker is the only shooter to make the cut for 2 individual events. She will compete in the women's 10-meter air pistol and the women's 25-meter pistol events. The squad for the Asian competition consists of 35 members for the 15 events. Prominent names include former men's air rifle world champion Rudraksh Patil and Olympians Anjum Modgil, Aishwarya Pratap Singh Tomar, Saurabh Chaudhary and others. And in Turkey's Erzincan, retired teachers Nermin and Bekir Tastan turned a childhood dream into reality, building a home 150 meters high on a cliff reached by 96 hand-carved steps. Despite doubts and challenges, their unique home now captivates with breathtaking views and unmatched determination. Indeed, it goes down as a true story of love, grit and sky-high dreams. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.